All right. Listen, it is Wednesday. We were off last week, but we needed a break to prepare for today's show. It's Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central Time, so you know what time it is. We are here empowered with Shronda to empower you mind, body, and spirit. But guess what? We're talking about this entire season on you being your own level up. And when I tell you, you guys are in for an amazing treat today, it is no exaggeration. I could never do justice of capturing everything that our guest is, but we can absolutely try. Tonight, we're going to be talking about resilience, and that can mean so much to many of us. We've heard from authors, we've heard from other entrepreneurs, we've heard from other women who focus on helping people build their business. But tonight we have someone that has literally merged all of those things, but she's been able to do that through resilience, perseverance, and most importantly, dedication. If you're tuning into this podcast week after week, I hope that you are getting information that inspires you to change and build your life. I say it time and time again. It doesn't matter who you are, where you've been, what you have been through. All that really matters is where you are going. You guys all know who I am. I am your amazing host, if I say so myself, Shronda McDaniel, bringing you Empowered with Shronda, where we are giving you nuggets, tools, and jewels free from people to help you improve and be your very own level up. Listen, I'm going to remove myself out of the way and I'm going to bring up our guest, because these 45 minutes is not going to be enough time. So the quicker we can get her up, the faster we can get started. Tonight, I have Dr. Syleecia Thompson. We're talking about the resilience factor. As I said, she is an entertainment agent, a professor, a producer, an author, a brand strategist, ... right? Serial entrepreneur, the true epitome of what success looks like. Success is definitely defined differently for each and every one of us, but watching her is beyond an inspiration. It pushes and inspires women and men alike to go out and be their best. And tonight she's going to be sharing with you exactly how she got to where she is. You know what? Enough of me doing the talking, because I can't wait to get this amazing, beautiful young lady on the screen to tell you all about who she is. Welcome, Dr. Syleecia. Welcome, honey. Glad to have you on the show tonight. How are you?
Oh, I'm fabulous. How about yourself?
I am absolutely amazing. I'm more than excited to have you on. I know that you have a crazy busy schedule, and the fact that you made room for us today, I know we are in for an amazing treat. So listen, I could never ever do you the justice that you deserve with introducing you. So I want us to kick things off with you telling us about Syleecia. Tell us all about you.
Well, first of all, thank you for wanting to talk to me. I'm always honored when someone wants to talk with me. So, it is what it is. I think that, you have to really tell your story, tell your brand story. And that's kind of what I've been trying to do over the last 20 years, is to tell my story through what I do. So I'm an educator, which I'm a full-time professor at Berkeley College. Shout out to all my students if they come on this video. Teaching online now. I'm going to stay online. I've been an entertainment manager for the last 20 years, but I've been in different roles. But I've been working in the music business, entertainment for the last 20 years. And a lot of that experience just really kind of pushed me in different directions. I'm crazy because I feel like I do a lot of stuff, but I call myself a serial entrepreneur. So to sum it up, I work in the fields of entertainment, education, and empowerment. I'm an author, just released my second book, shameless plug, The Resilience Factor. I manage Syleena Johnson, Grammy-nominated singer-songwriter, and she's my sister. and I work with other clients on their brand. So I do a lot, but it really do make sense, Shronda. Like it do come all together. It's not like I'm just it's crazy. But I just took on the role in the last couple of years as executive producer. So I love working in TV and film, working on some amazing projects right now. And that's fun to me. I like the project management, production manager, EP stuff. It's fun. I really like it. So I do a lot of stuff. I don't get into it. So
that is something that we can relate to, and we definitely have in common. The project management, the organizing, that is what I do as well. There's something about how my brain works, and I get really excited when you give me a bunch of stuff to do that I can, make the pieces come together. But I'm going to tell you, I'm doing nothing, nothing close to all that you are balancing. I have so many questions for you, but you know what? I am going to ask the first question that I know most people are probably thinking, especially with you starting this introduction with having so much going on. How do you do it? How?
You got to pray. You do have to, I had to learn this over the years, of course you got to tap into that God source, but you have to understand that balance is an illusion. It really is. There's no such thing as balance, right? Because if you look at it, something's always going to be out of whack. You can say, I'm going to give 33% to writing my book tonight. I'm going to give 33% to teaching. I'm going to give 10% to my boyfriend, 5%, so we got to stop saying, I'm just trying to get balance. It's no such thing. What you can do is what I do is I make sure I invest in myself. I pour into myself as much as I can. Today, I've just been going all week, and it's just Wednesday. So I came home. I came home and laid down and took a nap. It was like an hour and 15 minutes. Naps are amazing. And I work out. I right now I'm on this raw vegan thing. Tomorrow I switch to just vegan. So I always am working on trying to make sure I'm clear. I'm reducing my inflammation. I'm focused because we got to care about our bodies. You know how it is, Shronda. Like ladies, especially women, especially Black women, we just go, be there for everybody. Then we look up, we half dead. Who gonna help us then? You see what I'm saying?
Yes. I get it.
I try to, I've been in this reading challenge that I put on myself. I kind of slowed down a little bit. That was something for me. That was a challenge. I want to do 100 books this year, audio and print or ebook. So little things like I'm kind of like a nerd. So little things excite me, When I can catch up on a program, I'll binge watch a series, which I haven't done in months. I know people that catch their programs all the time. I don't know what that means. Sometimes I'm just in the house with silence. So you really have to feel like I have something funny. I'm going to show you this. This is on my desk.
I can't adult today.
You got to start saying that to yourself. So some days or some hours or an hour out the day, I'm not adulting. I gotta go be a bum and lay down, or that's not even being a bum. You know what I'm saying? Or I just can't adult today. So that's my strategy. It's all over the place, but it works.
I guess it makes sense. And hearing that come from you, I can't remember where I read it. It was some book by some millionaire. I've been taking on so many things. And that was also a tip that they said is we have to remove the word balance from our vocabulary because it just doesn't happen. It doesn't exist. I think that sometimes we get so caught up in trying to create balance that we spend more time trying to create the balance than we are working. Or then if you're anything like me, you'll beat yourself up because then you're not doing a good job at it of creating balance. So
you're a mom, right? You're a mom.
No, just me.
Okay, well, so I'm not a mom, but so even like Selena all the time is like, she's like, balance is out the window. When you have kids, you can't say, I just need balance. It's just not. So I know a lot of mothers and fathers out there will probably be able to chime in here because little Johnny don't care about your balance. He like, no, I need to eat. I'm about to cry right now. I need, so that's just a little tidbit too, because it's like parents will know that balance is it's an illusion.
Makes perfect sense. Makes absolute perfect sense.
Okay.
So let's kind of jump into this thing. For the audience, it's interesting how I met Syleecia, but Syleecia was actually on a podcast by one of a mutual friend that we know, but also one of the podcasts that's a part of the Dropping Knowledge podcast. And I remember watching the podcast. This is probably a year ago. I remember watching the podcast being in absolute awe, like, who is this lady? And I need to know her now. We talk constantly about changing our circles and having people around you that can push and inspire you for more. And I just knew that she would be an amazing asset to inspire you. I believe when you were on the show, did you talk about your branding and marketing at the time? Do you remember what you guys talked about?
We were talking about branding, either branding on a budget. I think that was knowledge. So branding on a budget, or branding strategies. I'm passionate about that too. I know I got 50 things I'm passionate about, but I'm actually getting ready to do a workshop called How to Tell Your Brand Story. So people look out for that. It's not going to be free. Okay. But I mean, that's another thing we need to talk about that too. Like, people be wanting free stuff and it just don't happen. But that goes with changing your story. I mean, changing your circle, because you never know. You take my course, you pay your little whatever, $99 or whatever it's going to be. I haven't even priced it yet. And now you're in my circle. You know what I'm saying? Or now you're in and then what I'm doing and moving, you can have either access to, you never know, or the opportunity to just learn and grow in different areas. So I think that's very important, because the saying, your net worth is determined by your network. And I know for me, like, this is sad, but in the music business, like, I didn't have mentors. I got one later on, but then, that didn't even, like, I could ask people for advice later on, way down the line, but I didn't have mentors. I reached out to a couple people, probably in the music business, women managers, not going to say any names or throw them under the bus, but they're very popular. You guys know them. But, I didn't get any feedback on that. And, I didn't have mentors. I learned everything hard knock life on my own. And so I know that, you can't help everybody, but I know that for me, I can stand 10 feet tall in what I've poured into people, just trying to help, even for free, just for free. Most of the time, I give out free advice, free stuff, free connections. But I didn't have those mentors. But it's very important that you have a network of people, that maybe that you don't want anything from them, but you could just learn and grow and get inspired. We're in a network together. And so just sometimes I'm on those calls, I might get off of them, get hyped up and be like, oh, I'm about to make $1 million. Just even though I may have heard the same information 50 times, but it just hyped me up because it was said differently. You know what I'm saying? So
makes
that right. That I think it's tough though. It's tough, and people don't know how to network.
Let's talk about that. How do you? That's great. We've talked about networking, but we have not talked about how. And you've hit something that is key, Syleecia. How do you network?
Girl, networking is not down in my inbox on Facebook talking about, can you give me a contact? Can you help me? Can you do this? Can you? That's not networking. It's building relationships over time, because it's it's one of these things where we can't, you have to be selfless at some point, but I think oftentimes people go into a situation just always wanting something. So where's the exchange? You know what I'm saying? So if you want, networking is to stay, connected with people, build relationships, provide value, let them know, hey, I'm looking for a contact at CNN, but Is there anything I can do for you? Do you, or, we have
Good.
what it's just crazy. Like, because how do you're not going to get to a certain level just always taking. It's not going to happen.
That's good.
It's just not going to happen, Shronda. You know that. It's not going to happen.
If you missed what Syleecia said, she said, it's not about reaching out to someone and saying, okay, hey, I need this without giving. It's the give and take. Hey, I need this. Can you help me with it? And what can I do for you? Do you need anything as well? That's amazing. So that's one aspect of networking, building relationships, not always being a taker, but also being a giver. But what would you say to the person that is, I know that I need to change my network. I know that I need to do all of these things, but all of my life, I kind of didn't talk to people. I don't like talking to people. Where do I begin? What do you say? Because I know you hear it all the time. What do you say to that person?
You know what? Like I said, I'm a professor, so I hear this a lot from my students. Okay. The younger generation, it's a rough group out there, right? So that's about 18 to maybe 25. That is a rough, they got some things they got to work out when it comes to connection, because their whole life has been this. Cell phones. They don't understand building relationships, connection. I'm a 70s baby. So I grew up where we went and played outside. We had after school stuff. People came over your house. We played double dutch. Like, we didn't have cell phones. So I understand networking. And a lot of that plays a role into it. When I got into college, I still, talk to and connect with a lot of my college friends, and even just going through life. They don't. So it's really a thing with the younger generation that I hear all the time. Like, I don't like people. They don't want to work in teams. They don't want to work in a customer service job. I don't like people, so I don't want to work customer service. Or I'll have students that like work at H&M or like work at Starbucks, and they'd be like, but I hate people. I'm like, now, why are you in that job? Like, so you're
the one working for you.
That's mean to me when I come in there because you hate people. Yes. And a lot of it has to do with generation. It's really generational. And if I can implore it. So even if you don't, and then also too, personality. I don't think we talk a lot about it. There's nothing wrong with saying, I don't like to be around people. There is something wrong with saying, I don't like people. I don't like being around people. That's not what you're trying to say. Maybe you're trying to say, I'm an introvert. What are some other ways for me to connect? Because it could be a personality issue or disorder or something just about personality. Not everybody, Mark Zuckerberg, he was real shy. You can still see it in him when he testifies in front of Congress. When he, shout out to Mark Zuckerberg, since we on Facebook, or when he does an interview, he's an introvert. Bill Gates is the same way. Bill Gates has gotten better. But, so it doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to be rich or successful. It just means that you got to find other ways to connect with people, to network. And one thing I will say that, I kind of touched on in my book is like my journey. I'm not a big proponent of people adding more debt, but I do think college prepares you. I do think, my college journey was very special and unique, my undergrad. I think it prepares you to deal with other people. I had Asian people in my class. This was back in the 90s, It gives you critical thinking skills. It gives you writing skills. It teaches you EI, emotional intelligence. It teaches you how to research and find things and do things on your own. Improves your cognitive ability. So I am a big proponent of education because I'm a professor. And even if you don't go to college, just educating yourself in general.
I'll say this to that point. I grew up Chicago, west side of Chicago. And I mean, I had a way about me even then. However, you're kind of limited, right? I was limited to just that bubble, right? There wasn't a lot of, and I worked in the mall. So you have customers who come out, that's other race or whatever, but not really being exposed to them, living with them, things that'll challenge you to maybe even look at some of your views differently. And it wasn't until I went away to college. I tell people, and the same thing that you said, I'm not for the dead, all of that stuff, but college was one of the greatest experiences for me, not because of experiences like party, woo, but because of the person that it helped create, right? I was very limited in my vocabulary and the way I communicated, and in so many different ways, because I didn't have to be more from my original surroundings. And so I wasn't going to go away to school and be around all these people and not step it up. Does that make sense? And so I am very adamant where I tell people, if it's not going away to college, how can you change maybe what's around you to help you to see life to another level? Because then it allows you to see those goggles or the lenses from maybe other people's perspective as well, to challenge you, maybe validate some of your views, or make you think like, I guess I did sound crazy when I used to say that, right? So, Syleecia, I do listen. We're at the 20-minute mark. We're gonna be late on here today. We're at the 20-minute mark, and I want to get into it. So, you've talked about being a professor, and for most people, that's it. I made it. I'm successful. I'm a professor, but no, you are an entrepreneur. Girl. What started that for you? Is there what took you from I'm going to be a professor and I'm going to be this entrepreneur?
Girl, every professor I know, we all in debt. So they lied. They got 5 side hustles, but that's just another story. Well, I do talk about it in my book, The Resilience Factor, which you guys can get on Amazon or my website, drsyleecia.com. I talk about my story. It really kind of let me just real quick. I got to tell you this story because it fell on me, right? So when I graduated, so my undergrad, I had an economics degree, went and got my MBA, just minding my own business, got out of college, moved to Florida after a man, which that was a disaster. And then just started working in the corporate world, T. Rowe Price investments. I started doing like pension benefits, investing and finances and all this stuff. I used to be a Series 63 broker, investments and stocks and bond, mutual funds, all of that stuff, right? Then I started working at a bank. And so I moved back to Chicago. Then I was working in Northern Trust Bank down there on LaSalle Street, I believe it is. I don't even know if it's still there. It's probably still there. And I was an accounting operations manager. And I just got a job teaching part-time, as a adjunct instructor over at South Suburban College. Y'all know where that is at? South Holland. Okay, shout out. I'm from Harvey, South Suburb. Shout out to all my Harvey people. Okay. And so I'm working in the corporate world teaching part-time. So Selena signed to Jive Records. She was working on her first album, and that was done. It came out. She had the little song, I'm Your Woman, I'm Your Woman. And then she was on Jive Records. So at the time, they put her on tour with R. Kelly. Sorry, that's what it was. Okay. So she went on the TP2.com tour in 2001. So, in this book, I talk about how some things happened on the road because her husband, ex-husband at the time, was her road manager. But I won't say anything derogatory about him. So I had to fly in and help out. And so I brought my ex-husband at the time on the road. We're riding around this raggedy tour bus because the label gave us the worst tour bus ever. Meanwhile, Robert is, living his life in his best, living his life in his, in his tour bus. So I'm just trying to get the story because you hear, you're going to be like, how did that happen? It's coming somewhere. I'm going to round it out. So I went there and I kind of was on the road. You know what I'm saying? So when we got off the road, I asked my job. I said, can I go on tour with some at that time? They was like, oh, sure. They Hollywood. They like, oh, you going on tour with R. Kelly? But that was at that time. That was 2001. So
yeah, they were down for it then.
It was that. So So we got off. That was like end of 2001. She was supposed to do some more press. 9/11. No, Aaliyah died. The plane accident happened with Aaliyah. Devastated, Robert, whatever. Then 9/11 happened, shut down the whole industry. So we did some, because that was 9/11. This was 2001. So we did some revamping, and then she fired her business manager. I became her business manager in 2002, then her road manager. And then after that, when you're the MBA in the family, the business person, everybody's like, help me with my stuff. That's kind of how it happened. She needed help. So we're going on and on. So then she got the Kanye West record. We went on tour with him, and then she fired her manager at the time later after that. And then that's how, it was really by default, because like she was hating everybody and she didn't trust anybody. So,
and so by default, you went from this, I'm a professor and I'm teaching, with strategies and budgeting and into entrepreneurship.
But I was still teaching part-time. I left the corporate world. I would take on little bitty projects. I started my company. At that time I was just sole proprietor, and I started doing consulting. I started doing trainings because I had all this expertise. And this is what I tell people, like, you can make money from what you know. So I'm working in the music business because music business is up and down. And I got my first taste of 1099s. I started getting projects. I would go in and train people on leadership and train and do consulting and just working with small businesses and just balancing it over time. I'm self-taught, and, I have a lot of books. If you can see, I read a lot of stuff. And, then I started working on my doctorate degree, finished that, but I've always just been in the entertainment music business. And as a serial entrepreneur, you have one business venture and then you add on different ones. So that's kind of how it happened. It's like started with the TP2 tour, and then it kind of evolved. And now I have two companies. So DYG Management Group. And then last year during the pandemic, I launched Dr. Syleecia Productions to kind of funnel all of my TV and film stuff. We've done tours. I've set up tours. We get movie placements. We've sold documentaries. I just sold our docuseries again to a network. I'm not going to say what it is because I'll announce it soon. So we've done so much. We were on reality shows, and you do all of these things. And Selena's been very good at the queen of comebacks, right? And the queen of reinvention. And we're all just resilient. You do so many things, and it's like, okay, I could do that. All of it tied together. My business stuff kind of helped in the music. My business understanding and strategy helped in the music and entertainment business.
So you just dropped Resilience, and you've talked about the book a couple times, because from this story that you just shared with us, it sounds like I went away to college, and that turned out great, got a couple degrees, came back home working, and then boom, my sister got signed on, and suddenly I became a manager and serial entrepreneur. But did the success just happen like that, or is there a story behind that, or have you hit some bumps in the road? Tell us about this resilience, because it is a part of your story. Where did that come in life that you had to push to get through resilience to get to where you are today?
Well, what I will say is that working the industry, the music industry, I think I say this in the book, it punishes you for being a woman. So it's very difficult to work in the entertainment business as a woman. Coming up through the time that Selena and I did, right? Everybody's Me Too movement now, and the lights are being shined, and women empowerment now. But when we started, it was like, no, this is how it's going to be. You know what I'm saying? And so we were always, and for me, I was always we were like not of the industry. We were always on the outside looking in, but we figured out a way how to move through it, around it, because we were no nonsense. We weren't having sex with you for songs. We weren't about to sleep with you. We weren't going to do any of that. So, it just, we didn't get to certain levels that other people did. No shade, but it is what it is. So it's always been ups and downs, having to fight for everything, fight for opportunities. And I feel like we've been resilient. And for me, I put what I did, and I look back, of course, everything happens for a reason. We are the sum of our experiences. But I put off my personal life to be so engulfed and enthralled in building a career. So I don't have children. I'm 48. And I had a stillbirth at 40 years old. So that was crazy. I was in a 9.5-year relationship that didn't go like I thought it was going to go.
I made a face. You made a face. Faces.
It's in the book. And he may be watching, but whatever. It's in the book. So that didn't go how I thought it was going to go. And that was in 2013. That totally changed the way I looked at the music business, because I can recall when I went in for the ultrasound, they found out there was no heartbeat, 27 and a half weeks pregnant. And I just remember even in the hospital bed, like in emails and dealing with stupid industry people, I'm not going to even say their names, and just dealing with drama. And I was just like, girl, so that was the whole thing. Fast forward 6 years later, I get diagnosed with stage 1 breast cancer. So I've learned, I have had to face adversity, trauma, and tragedy like a superhero. That's the name of my book. I think I'm Wonder Woman after all the crap that I've been through. And
is it okay
to the men but that's the whole story.
Is it okay if I read something from the book, right? Chapter 2, resilience is your superpower. And I'm going to read this, and I want you to tell us what this meant, because I read this and was like, just cash it in. I don't even have to read the rest of the book. Okay, I'm going to read this for our audience. And I hope that you guys are going to go out and grab your copy too. We'll talk about that in a second, but grow through the things that you go through. Growing through the things that you go through is one part of our human experience. Not only are we flawed individuals, but our journeys will be flawed. Growth is inevitable. For me, I had to learn that through my flaws and through my trials and tribulations, I was going to have to depend on myself more than I anticipated. With this understanding, I found that growth is a mindset, and we can shift and change our mindset throughout our lives to better improve our chances of experiencing joy.
Come on.
Wow.
Because you know what? And I'm so glad, Shronda, you like that part. You about to make me cry.
Tears. Well, I'll send you more teary-eyed videos when I come through more parts of that.
Everybody, are you crying? I think I'm saying that because, resilience is your superpower. I do feel like when you get to a certain age, and I don't know where my 40-something's at, but when you get to a certain age, you look back and you feel like, I went through all of this. Like when you start approaching 50, you start saying, oh, okay. I went through all of this. And I hope for most people, men and women, especially Black people, you have grown through the stuff that you've gone through. So for me, I have grown as a person. There's still little things about me that I kept from like when I was in my 20s and 30s, my little quirks. But trauma changes you. Adversity changes you. Tragedy changes you. I had to realize at a certain point that I had to depend on myself, especially being single, at that time, and just being single, not having kids. And you can't expect everybody to help you or take care of you. Like you think in your mind, you waiting for somebody that, one of the things, and I talk about this in my book, and this is no one's fault. Well, maybe one person. But I remember when I was going through breast cancer and my radiation treatments, I went to every treatment alone, right? And other people were there with their people. And I realized, and that's, I wrote this last year during the quarantine. So that experience, going to all my doctor's appointments, most of them, and shout out to a couple of my friends that did go with me in New York, but I went through most of my appointments, getting results, getting news, getting procedures, and poking and pin alone. And that is a reality that I had to face, and so, it's important to have networks and systems. But again, you can't always assume that people are going to be there for you. And they don't have to be. I'm not saying, you know what I'm saying? They don't have to be, but you got to be okay with dealing with your stuff yourself.
Do you believe that you coming to the understanding of I have to deal with this myself allow you to continue to push forward and create your level of success? Do you think that it would have hindered you if you hadn't came to that understanding?
Yep. That's a good question, Shronda. Yes, I do. I think because, you want to be able to complain to, I could text my sisters and be like, I'm in a nightmare. Da, da, da. You got to have that kind of stuff. You want to talk real, how it is. You text your people, you want to talk stupid. I'm fat. I'm in a nightmare. I hate myself. What is happening? I'm a loser. And they'd be like, girl, me too. That's how my sisters are like, girl, me too. I ain't nothing. And then we, at the end, and be like, okay, but we really are cold. You know what I'm saying? It's just very crazy. But I think I had to come to that realization. And I think it helped me. When you talk about resilience and success, I can't, if we got to go find, you're not going to find a successful person that hasn't had to be resilient in some area of their life. In the book, I talk about my 4 areas of resilience. So I talk about financial resilience, because I've been there with the 500 credit score, losing everything, breaking up and having to start all over, get all new furniture, move out all on my own. So financial resilience. I talk about personal resilience when you're dealing with, breast cancer and child pregnancy loss. Professional resilience. I've lost lots of opportunities, right? And then spiritual resilience. So that is, those are my 4 pillars when we talk about resilience. We're always either personally resilient, professionally resilient, spiritually resilient, and financially resilient.
That's deep. It's really good. Because without that, and even breaking them down that way, I might have to sit down and look at the ways I've had to be resilient and what those pillars look like. But I think that without being resilient, you'll find yourself knocked on your back and not being able to get up again. Right.
Yeah. And I think, go ahead. I was going to say, I think for most people, when you do get the book, there is a journal in the back. So you have it. So you can, it's for self-discovery. I think the first thing that for most people, they have to start with that essay to their younger self, right?
Yes.
Because I think there's millions of people out there that don't even realize that they're resilient. And so when something hit, that they have a resilience factor. So when something happens in their life, they just fall out and crumble, right? They don't know how to push forward, or they give up. Giving up is not an option for me. Giving up is not an option for anybody on my team, anybody on my circle. And it doesn't mean that, you got to push all the time. You can't be weak. That's not what resilience is. Resilience is how you overcome, how you get back up. I could have said after the breast cancer thing, I'm leaving the industry. Y'all not about to drive me crazy. And I quit and bye. You know what I'm saying? Or I'm just, I'm still fighting, I'm still in early recovery. So I'm still trying to eat certain things and do right and take medication. I'm still on a whole thing, medication for 5 years. So people get resilience, twisted, right? It doesn't mean that, you got to be strong all the time. That's not what it means. You get to grow through the things you go through. I'm sure you got an example, Shronda. I know you did.
I've been through it, been under it, been around it, honey. We didn't been. This is today is not my story, but it's definitely coming. You definitely inspire me. And there is a book, there is a journey, there is a story that is there. But I will tell you that through resilience and through perseverance, I sit here today, right? And it's not, in my broken moments, in my weak moments, I allowed myself to be those things. But in the same token, I also knew that me being resilient, my get up off this ground and make this happen was going to be the determining factor of what the future looked like. And that is why I knew that having you on the show would be absolutely amazing, because you have this. There's no way in 45 minutes we can really cover the full gamut of everything that you do. But the reality is that right before us, we've had someone who's experienced breast cancer, who's experienced rejection, who's experienced, just like you, doors being closed in her face, but still before you today with these rolling titles, right? And you see names rolling in the credits, and there her name is, and it's through resilience. It's through that amazing part of who you are, and a lot of, I'm sure, that personality and those quirks. I know that there were moments you were talking and people probably saw me just smiling because the quirks, your personality, if we can just bottle that up and sell it would be amazing. It would
it's so interesting. I'm looking at the chat. You guys are really having a good time down there. It's interesting because I feel like understanding your purpose too. People say this a lot. I know my purpose, but understanding your purpose, I had to also let go of the fact that I was not going to be, although I'm an angel mom, which means I've had a baby who died. I am an angel mom, but I'm not a mother. I'm not a parent. So I had to come to that realization. That's something that's a realization. Let me tell you something. I tell my little young friends, I got my friends that are in their 30s. I wish somebody would have told me, freeze your eggs. You know what I'm saying? Like, freeze your eggs, focus on fertility right now in your late 20s and in your 30s. No, my mother and them didn't know that. Because they had their babies in their 20s. They was popping them out back to back. So I've had to come to grips with a lot of things, and that's one of them, right? You're not going to have a child. Everyone says, oh, you can adopt, you can do that. I'm at a place now where you got to be selfless as a parent. So do I really want to give away my freedom now? Now you didn't get me all into my freedom, like I get to do what I want to do, so it'll just be me and my future husband minding our own business. You know what I'm saying? So I had to come to terms with that. And once I realized that, I got nephews, I got family, I got little small cuts, I got people, I can pour into them as if I if I had children, right? So I had to come to grips with that. And that's, fertility, girl, that's a whole other podcast. And then I had to come to grips with your purpose here is to empower others. Part of it is educate, entertain, enhance the lives of people. And you are here to help other people transform into their best self. Your purpose, not ever, your purpose, my purpose was to help other people. And I had to come to terms with that. Now I'm in a space where I'm promoting my book and doing stuff for me. But for the most part, I could quick to be let me help you with your brand. Let me get you together. And people would always be like, well, what about you? So, but you have to be okay with what your purpose is and understanding your journey. So talk about that in the book. That's part of resilience as well. Coming to terms with what your purpose is and what my next 50 years will look like.
I want to ask you a question about that. Again, this podcast is focused on be your own level up. And we've had person after person share their journeys, what businesses they have, what they do, etc. And most people say, I'm living in my purpose. But when you have a conversation with, someone who isn't in their purpose, or they don't know that they are, they say, how do I know that this is my purpose? So I want you to answer that question. And then I have a second part to that. So how do you know that something is your purpose, or how do you discover your purpose?
Well, I do this exercise because if you look at the country, let's just look at the US.
Mm-hmm.
It's 98% of us we're not millionaires, right? Okay, so the other 2%, they're all millionaires and billionaires. Okay, so I do this exercise with my students and I do it with a lot of my clients. I also coach people and help them from a strategy standpoint. And I do this exercise and it never fails. So I sit them down and I say, okay, if I gave you $1 million free of charge, no, you don't have to pay me back. It's just $1 million as seed money to start any business that you want or to do anything that you want to do in your life right now. What would it be? So I do this exercise and I've had students like in my classes, they'll go around and they'll be like, yes, I want to be an accountant. I'm getting my accounting degree. I'm going to work in fashion. Another student like, yeah, I'm going to go in criminal justice. I want to be like a police officer. And like they go all these getting these careers. So soon as I say, I'm going to give you $1 million to start a business, this will be your career for the rest of your life. It's going to be your seed money. And they all say something totally opposite from what they just told me. One time I had a student say, oh, that's easy. I would start a daycare because I love children. And I'm like, you just told me you were going to be an accountant. Well, that's because my parents want me to be that. And I'm like, but you love children. You can, well, I'm like confused. And then I have one guy, he said, I'm in school right now getting my accounting degree, but I've always wanted to be an astronaut. He's 19 years old. He said, but I know that'll never happen. And I was like, so if I gave you $1 million, he was like, so if you gave me $1 million, I would switch my major, pay for my school, and go the science astronaut route. And I'm like, why can't you do that right now? You see what I'm saying? So when you put money on the table and remove that, people have these limiting beliefs. People have fear. People lack confidence. So a lot of people take the safe route. So once you start thinking about what would I do if I didn't have to worry, because I hate to say it, money is a worry for people. So you say, what would I do if like, let's go find a bus driver that's been driving a bus for 15 years. If I came to them and said, I'm going to give you money right now to quit your job, but you have to do something that you've always wanted to do, I guarantee you they'd be like, oh, I've always wanted to start my own plumbing company. You see what I'm saying? Like, we just don't know a lot of us know our purpose. It's always there. And then God will show it to us as well. Like God came to me very, very clear over the years. Because again, another thing too, is you have to love what you're doing. Right. And do you love it? Ask yourself, do you love this? And most people would be at these jobs, they'd be like, no, I don't love it. So you got to dangle money out there, you'll get to the bottom of stuff. You'll always find. Go ahead.
I think technically speaking, you have answered the second question, but I am still going to ask the question to get it out there and see if you answer it differently. So we talked. So number one, the first question was, how do we know our purpose? Right? You kind of you gave good game. I just thought about that and I could tell you, I could have gave you an answer. I'd be a talk show host. Personality.
You doing it right now.
That's what I've been doing. But
you're doing it now.
I am.
I am. You got your production company. You're doing it right now. Technology has made life so simple. And now, so that's where you put a lot of your fuel in. Okay, well, that's a whole different thing.
Yeah, later, Syleecia. Later. The second part to that question is this. How does a person know the difference between I am living in my purpose versus I've walked into something and that thing I walked into made it my purpose? I'll give an example. We'll use your example. You were doing XYZ. Your sister ended up in the music industry, and by default, you became manager, road manager, etc. How does a person know the difference between if they're actually living in their purpose or they've just taken on what has been given to them as their purpose?
Well, for me, that's a very good question. I love that question. For me, again, so I gotta add these little bitty caveats. Our dad is a R&B blues and soul singer, Syl Johnson. So he was in the music business. He's that's where Selena get her voice, the raspiness. Everybody can Google Syl Johnson. He's one of the most sampled artists. He's also crazy, and he sues every rapper that uses his music, but that's a different story. He will sue. He sued Kanye and Jay-Z. It's just, but that's different. So I grew up in a musical household. My uncle is a blues singer and guitarist, Jimmy Johnson. He used to play down with Buddy Guy and Legends. So my dad was on Al Green's label. So I grew up in a musical household. You see what I'm saying? So it was already being planted. Selena was already being planted. They had her singing at 3 years old at a nightclub on the bar, the tavern or whatever they had her doing. And so it was already there, right? So music was already in my DNA. So I just went, like everybody else, the safe route, because in high school, I used to be like, I want to be a lawyer. And I do regret not going to law school. But I used to say, I want to be a lawyer. I want to be an engineer. I had like 6 majors in college, just trying to find my way. Again, college was it gave me a wonderful experience. But again, I was going the route that I thought, then corporate world once you get out. So since music is my DNA, it didn't take much for me to see that, oh, wow, and then getting to work with my sisters, like, oh, this is easy, well, not always easy. So that's a different story.
She's your sister. Listen, because if you made me work with my sister, we probably kill each other, but that's another story.
That's another podcast. Sorry. So I think it's always in you. You have to listen to your inner gut, your inner spirit, and God is going to reveal it to you at different times. You have to, and it's okay for trial and error, in your 20s. It's okay for trial and error. I tell people, my clients, students all the time, you're going to go through 2 and 3 and 4 career changes, and it prepares you for wherever you're going to end up. I really started walking into my purpose probably the last maybe 10 to 12 years, 10 to 15 years. Cause I'm old. I've been doing this for a while.
You don't look your age at all. You don't here looking 23, girl. You look at 23.
Now, oh, thank you very much. Now, I wrote this book. Let me just shameless plug this book. So this book I wrote is based on my dissertation. It's called Rhythm Without Blues, The Dichotomy of a Music Genre. And I wrote this in 2009, then I revamped it later on. But this was, me starting in the industry. This is when I started, and I wrote for the Encyclopedia of African American Music. So music was just, you see what I'm saying? So it's like, it's not going away. And I'm able to make money, and then adding on all these things. So your gut is going to tell you. The Holy Spirit is going to tell you. God is going to tell you. All of that stuff. But you can't. The thing is, we're so fearful, and a lot of people care about what other people think, and a lot of people don't have drive and work ethic to know that, okay, if that is my route, maybe it's not the most financially stable route, but I'm a hustle until it becomes financially stable.
And that's it. And that's why I wanted to put that question out there, because you've touched it in both, in both questions. Yeah. The reality is that we're taught we need to go to school. We need to get that degree. We have to go to corporate, and that's how we make money. And so anything that's kind of outside of that feels scary. Feels like, I got mortgage to pay. I don't really know about that. And it's something that we run away from. But then I also know I use that question for purpose, but the reality is that it happens to us in life all the time. You can be in a relationship and suddenly all of his likes become your likes, and it's people struggle with, how do I know I'm serving in my purpose, or how do I know I'm in the right lane, as people like to say, versus I probably need to shift lanes. I've taken on something that someone is giving me. And I think that for you, it's an amazing example because you were in that household and it felt great. You do music, you love it despite the ups and downs. It's what you're passionate about, right? But if you're doing something and it's up and downs and you hate it, well, we know the answer to that.
Well, I'm going to share a little secret with you, Shronda. So right now I'm at a phase where I'm overly passionate about telling stories. This is probably going to be my next 5 years. Documentaries, docuseries, telling stories, telling the brand story. So telling stories and the TV, digital media, creative aspect. This is kind of where I am right now. I still love the music business, but you could ask Selena, we both be tired of that. You know, the whole put an album out, then you got to work it. Da, da, da. I like the project piece to it, but the working it, and it's just too much politics when you're dealing with labels. Luckily, we have a good label right now, E1 Nashville. Shout out to Gina Miller, Senior Vice President, Omega, if anybody's watching. So luckily, we lucked out, you know. But that part of me is an older piece. The next 5 years, I want to tell stories.
Well, I can't wait. I can't wait for the stories. Listen, Syleecia, we have definitely went over our time already. I knew.
Did I beat everybody?
We probably should have booked you for 2 days. So we've talked about the resilience factor. To those who are still watching, who's going to go back on the replay and watch, you're watching Empowered with Shronda, where we're empowering you mind, body, and spirit. We have the amazing Dr. Syleecia on, who does literally everything, but she just recently came out with a book called The Resilience Factor. Listen, everybody is going crazy about this book. She hit #1 on Amazon and a couple of topics. Every time I look at her page, somebody is posing with this book. I tapped in and I'm telling you, you are in for a treat. Make sure you go and grab the book. We are here each and every single week on Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central Time. Make sure you're tapping in and tuning in. You can catch us on Dropping Knowledge Network, as well as Dropping Knowledge Network on YouTube, which you will find there. Syleecia, I have your website up, but for those who are going to go back and listen, or for the podcast audio, tell people how they can reach you. And, you know, you've mentioned coaching and brand strategist. Tell people how they can get to you and where they can get the resilience factor and all that amazing stuff.
You can reach me right where Shronda has that website, drsyleecia.com. You can also buy an autographed copy of my book on my website. I'm also offering, since we're going to plug in here, I'm also offering a bundle box with both books and my I Am the Brand mug. It's a bundle box. My coaching, you sign up there. Everything's on my website. Now, if you want to get the book, and this helps me with my sales, this helps me with rankings, go to Amazon. Leave a review. Shronda, I need you to leave a review.
I'm going to go leave a review. I'm going to leave a video if they let me.
Go to Amazon, leave a review, click the link, share the link. That helps with my rankings. Buy the book there on Amazon. Right now, the ebook is only $2.99. That sale is ending tomorrow. And then you can get the soft cover on Amazon. And I'm just really excited that you have me here. I always love to talk to people. Shout out to Tyra. Tyra's amazing.
Tyra's been on there, tapped in.
Tyra's amazing. You got to have Tyra on your show.
Okay, well, we got to talk to Tyra. I'm all about it.
she got a story. There's a couple of people on here. Shout out to Brandy. You got to have Brandy on there. Okay, Constamika. Everybody's tuning in here. So thank you for having me, Shronda. I always love I can talk, so as you can know.
I know that about you, though. I know that about you. I've experienced you, and I can't wait for the in-person experience. I love your personality. I say it all the time. I say it all the time. You know, I'll tune in when you have the coaching sessions or whatever you'll drop, or you'll be like tune into, and I'm at work and I'm also watching your stuff, and I'm over here like, this lady is hilarious, but you definitely give great jewels. I am always tapping in. Make sure you go and check out everything she has to offer. She is actually on Facebook under her name as well. She drops all types of free resources, tips, all sorts of things that you can use in order to be able to inspire and grow your business. I am definitely grateful to have you on the show. This has been everything and beyond, literally. We need more time. We need more time. Great conversation, great interview. I'm going to go ahead and pull you down. If you can hang out in the back for me for just a minute, I'm going to wrap up and then talk to you in a bit, babe.
Thanks, everybody.
Listen, I'm excited. Listen, I've been smiling the whole time. My cheekbones, they burn a little bit, right? We've had an amazing interview with Syleecia. She's brought so much to this conversation, all that I anticipated for her to do. And I'm going to be honest with you. I knew that we would run out of time, and there would be no way we would be able to fit all that she is and all that she does into one interview. But hopefully you took some tools from tonight's show. Listen, we're here every week. Next week, we're going into episode 10, which means that we're preparing for a break. But we will be back with season 3, and Syleecia has already started lining up guests for season 3. But make sure that you are tuning in. If you are not tuning in, guess what? What is the saying? You are tuned out. The reality is that we are all 1 step, 2 steps, 4 steps away from our purpose, our dream, our inspiration, whatever that thing is, but we are missing the information. Information is all around you. This podcast is here to inspire you, to give you free information, but most importantly, allow you to see people who look just like you, that make life happen. You can absolutely go out and make life happen, but do you have the resilience? Tap into yourself, use mentorship, use courses, invest in yourself, and those things do come to you. You know, I will have you here all night. Wrapping up the show, I am going to remove myself because I will go on and on. Today was definitely an inspiration for me. If you guys are not already in the loop and don't know where to find me, of course, here's the information and all you need to know. You can find me on Facebook under my name, of course, Shronda McDaniel. We're airing live on Dropping Knowledge Network. So it's dropping, not without a G on the end, Knowledge Network. We're on YouTube and Power with Shronda, as well as the Dropping Knowledge Network. Tune into the network, guys, as we all are inspiring to give you great information that can allow you to take your life to the next level. We're going to be back next week at 7 with episode 10 with another dynamic woman who's going to give you some great information. I will see you all next week. You all stay safe. God bless. Remember to tap into your resilience. We all have a story. It's what we do and how we grow through it that allows us to create our success. Love you all. See you next week.